All right, the Georgia Bulldogs have obviously had a long list of injuries this season. Kirby Smart said that last week it was the longest injury list that they've had since he's been the head coach at Georgia. And look, notable injuries. Lad McConkey, Amarius Mims, Branson Robinson, these are guys that have been or are going to be out for significant time. I consider a month significant time for Lad McConkey, right? I mean, we're talking about a third of the regular season has gone by. That is how far we are into the college football season. A third of the 12-game regular season. It's crazy how far we've gotten. And Georgia, the injury bug is real. It has been real for Georgia this season, and I think it's definitely affected their play. It's hard to argue that it hasn't, but Kirby Smart gave some updates about the injured Georgia Bulldogs today. I'm going to focus mostly on Lad McConkey, Javon Bullard. Going to talk about Michael Williams a little bit, right? Because he did not play against. Blanking for who Georgia played on Saturday. He did not play against UAB this Saturday. He missed that game with an illness. That's what Kirby Smart. That was the update after the game. Was that, in my opinion, Georgia's most talented defensive lineman, edge rusher, Michael Williams. He did not play against UAB, and that turned out to be just because of an illness. So let's dive into a little bit of what Kirby Smart had to say. Ryan Curley from Dog Post here, talking about the injured Georgia Bulldogs yet again on this Monday night for you. I'm going to read off. So here's the deal with Lad McConkey. If you don't know the deal with Lad McConkey, I'll give you what's been going on, and then I'll give you what Kirby Smart gave today. So Lad's been out with a back injury, right? This happened it's something he's dealt with in the past. I think re-triggered during fall camp, if I understand correctly. And he hasn't been able to play. Hasn't dressed out a single time this year. The verbiage around it has been that Lad McConkey is day to day. They have said that multiple times about his status on if he's going to be ready to go. And Kirby Smart said today that they shut him down in practice for 2 weeks, that they were advised to shut him down in practice for 2 weeks. Here's what he said, right? Because Lad has not been practicing the last couple of weeks. Well, he's got to be able to practice, and that's a big part of it. He's going to be able to come back and practice this week, and we're going to be able to do some more things with him. How he does in those things will determine whether or not he's able to play. We had kind of a 2-week advised shutdown. He's done that, and we're expecting him to be able to go out there today and do some things, but non-contact early in the week and try to move to that. So at the very least, Lad McConkey is going to be out there participating in practice earlier on in the week, doing non-contact stuff. So what does that mean? Well, he's probably going to do any kind of drills that you consider conditioning, any sort of routes on air. So it sounds to me like he'll be able to do stuff like that at least early in the week. It's a good thing if he can run routes, right? If they're at that point where he can run routes, and that's kind of my understanding is part of what his non-contact practicing would be, then maybe you can work towards. Now, if you had to ask me, is Lad McConkey, if I had to answer, and you asked, is Lad McConkey going to play against Auburn? My guess would be no. My guess would be that Lad McConkey is not going to play against Auburn this week. With him being day-to-day, maybe this 2-week shutdown for him where he's not really doing that much has been really good for his development and everything. But if he's, they're just trying to rope him in early in the week and we'll see if he can practice in full by the end of the week. But if Lad McConkey doesn't practice in full, I just don't think he's going to be out there. And look, they're winning ball games without him. But yes, I think that it would be great for, a fresh starting quarterback to have who is projected to be his number one target on the outside. Other than Brock Bowers, his number one target in the receiving room, that's the projection, right? And so it is a big loss for Georgia. The experience, Kirby Smart has said in the past, the experience has been maybe the biggest loss, right? Especially since this is an offense that's still trying to gel. You got freshmen in there. You got Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett, who are transfers in the system, right? So Lad McConkey being out doesn't help that be any smoother. Let's move on. Michael Williams. So illness is what it was. All Kirby Smart really had to say was, we're hopeful to get him back if he's over the sickness. So it is my guess that Michael Williams will be back this week. Unless it's an undisclosed illness. They haven't exactly told us. So who knows what he's dealing with. What I do know about Athens is you can get some serious colds being in a college town and being around all these people that have not been around each other for a long time, right? So those first couple months are where a lot of those illnesses happen. Don't know if that's to do with Michael Williams, just my little tidbit on that. But it'd be my guess that Michael gets roped back into the practice this week and plays at Auburn unless he's dealing with an illness that's more significant and they haven't disclosed that. Javon Bullard, right? Javon Bullard is another guy that was talked about today. So Javon Bullard has now missed 2 games with an ankle injury, ankle sprain. And look, ankle sprains aren't fun, guys. You know ankle sprains aren't fun. David Daniel Sisvon has been kind of the main replacement for him back at that safety spot next to Malachi Starks. David Daniel, a guy that's been in the program for a couple of years, a guy that's had playing time in significant games. Has been a part of the defensive back rotation the last 2 this season and last season. Has never been part of that main group, but has been in the rotation. He's been getting playing time. And Dan Jackson as well. And Dan Jackson's a guy that gets in on their dime packages a lot, but Dan Jackson also getting some time at safety. So they've been rotating with those 2 mainly. And of course, they've been rotating a lot just because they've been blowing these teams out. Whether they're blowing these teams out to people's liking or not, they have been winning these games by significant margins. So today, Coach Smart said, we think he's going to be able to do more, hoping to get him back. We'll know more if he gets more done today and tomorrow, so Monday and Tuesday. If he's able to practice any, we'll obviously know more. That's what Kirby said. So that's pretty typical answer. In terms of his communication, and if that's an issue without him out there, Kirby says, I don't feel any communication issues as a result of Javon because Dan is really bright, David Daniel is really bright, they know our system, they've been in it, so I don't foresee any communications issues with Bullard not being out there. Look, Bullard is like a preseason All-American, right? And he's or at least, at the very least, preseason All-SEC. This is a guy that was, there's no other way to put it. He was a menace during the playoff run for Georgia. He was a menace, and he made a lot of big plays throughout the year last season. This is a guy that is a legit NFL prospect. I mean, I think he's a top 3-round prospect at the next level from the safety position. I think that, Javon Bullard's going to hear his name called. 6 months down the line, something like that, whenever the 2024 NFL draft is. And him being out is significant. Now, he dressed out again. This injury happened in week 2 against Ball State. He dressed out against South Carolina. He was on the sidelines. He was jumping up on the table, waving the arms up, all active. He was dressed out. So you thought that maybe he'll get it to play against South Carolina. And, it was my thought process with him being dressed, not playing, but being dressed out against South Carolina was, okay, well, maybe that's good progression. He dressed out but didn't play. Maybe that means he'll play next week. Well, he ends up not even dressing out against UAB this past Saturday. He was present, but he was not dressed out. If his name couldn't have been called on because he wasn't in pads. So that's a difference between the last 2 weeks. And it's easy to say that's a regression. I don't know that he has regressed. I do know that some ankle injuries heal take longer to heal than others. But Bullard working his way back, it's a tough one to say on that. It's a tough one to say. I think that we're going to find out more about that over the next couple of days. Some guys that Kirby Smart didn't touch on today was the running back room with Kendall Milton and Roderick Robinson. Roderick Robinson, I think, dealing with an ankle sprain of his own, unless I have completely mistaken. And I'm going to double check on that because I am blanking on Roderick Robinson's injury. High ankle sprain, right? Dude didn't dress out last week against UAB. I don't really expect Roderick to play this week if it's a high ankle sprain that's happened in the last couple weeks. Same thing with Bullard. Obviously, not all ankle sprains are cut the same, but I would doubt that he's going to play. And then as far as Kendall Milton goes, that one's a little bit of a mystery, right? Not as big of a mystery as McConkey, but he's been dealing with a hamstring injury over the course of fall camp and now the first month of the season. And he went from playing on it to not playing on it. Now he's not out there. There was no update on him. I'm sure we'll get an update on that tomorrow. But this running back room is working with Dejan Edwards, Andrew Paul, Cash Jones, Savon Clark, right? Were those not the 4 main guys with, Branson's out for the season. And then Roderick, we're talking about the 2 Robinsons, Roderick now being out with his ankle injury, Kendall Milton now being out with a hamstring injury. The running back room's depleted. There's no other way to put it. Dylan Bell obviously working and getting touches there. I think they feel comfortable with giving guys like Brock Bowers and Mekhi Muse touches out of the backfield. So they have plenty of people they can throw back there. And Dylan Bell obviously being the main piece that they're throwing over there. But no true update on the running back room today from Kirby Smart. We'll see if we can get that on Tuesday. And if that's the case, we will give you that update. But thanks for watching this video. Link is down below for the newsletter. It is free. Make sure you're signing up for that. Thanks for watching.